Hey everyone, welcome back to Steve's Project Car Garage. My name is Steve. Today we're working again on the Spitfire. Going to be focusing some attention onto the tunnel section of the floors. It is about 95 degrees out today. I just stepped out here and I'm already sweating. We have a heat index of about 105 to 110 or something like that, so it's going to be crazy. But I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done since the last video, and then I'll kind of catch you up what we're going to do today. Stick around, it'll be a good video. All right, so since the last video, I actually went ahead and welded up the front and the rear of the car, and I also welded up the passenger side floor. So we are all welded. Here, I'll show you. Take a look. It doesn't look that bad down here. I mean, my welds aren't beautiful. I got to grind them down and all that, but I'll do that when I get the tub off the frame. And then over here, I got the passenger side, and then you can kind of see on in here where I got the floor welded down there too. So that's that section. Now what we're gonna do is work on the tunnel. I want to get the tunnel cut, fit, and then if time allows, welded in. That's kind of the goal for this video and this week. So I have it put in already, and it's just kind of sitting in here. You can see there's some gaps, and there's going to be obviously cutting and welding and whatnot that's going to have to happen on both sides. It's not a big deal. Kind of knew that was going to be the case. But what I want to do is give myself a little bit more room to work with. So I'll pull this out real quick and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, that was a bit more involved. I needed two hands, so I put the camera down. What I want to do is remove the drive shaft. It's not that big of a deal. It's pretty much 4 bolts on each side, and I can pull the drive shaft out. And in order to do that, I'm also going to have to pull out part of the exhaust. And the reason I want to do that is so that way, A, I can give myself room to come in and weld the tunnel up into the arch here of the heel board. And then also give myself some room to kind of try to get up in here with like a marker or something to be able to kind of mark the outline of the floor here. So sorry, I didn't realize I had that there, but that's sort of what I want to work on today. So I'm going to start by getting the drive shaft pulled out and the exhaust. And then, yeah, we'll get cracking on the tunnel. All right, so I think this is where I'm going to start. So when I put this exhaust in a couple years ago, I just kind of made these makeshift hangers, and they work great. I'm actually probably going to keep them for when I put the car back together because frankly they work really well. But everything on this exhaust system is all bolted together using exhaust clamps. As you can see, there's an exhaust clamp right there, and there's one further down there. There's another one. There's 3 exhaust clamps total that hold this whole piece of exhaust system together. So I'm going to start by lowering and removing these guys. Once this is down, then I'll go ahead and go up to the middle exhaust clamp, and I'll just undo it. And I'll pull this 2-piece section out, and I'll probably just leave the front piece on. Although I may pull it off. I don't know. I'm going to have to pull it off anyway, so I may as well do it while I'm there. But yeah, I'll disconnect it from the headers, I guess. So let's get cracking. Now that doesn't want to seem to come, so I'm going to try to separate it here, and if I can separate it here, that'll allow me to get up underneath here a little bit more. Let's see here, that looks like a 9/16 though. Yep. Cool. All right, got that off. Let's see if we can get this middle section out a little bit easier. All right, it'll be fun. So I'm gonna put this clamp back on, and I'm gonna tighten it down not going to cinch it, but I'm just going to tighten it a little bit so that way I might be able to get some purchase around the resonator. Maybe give it a couple of good whacks with a hammer or a mallet. There we go. Hey! All right. Now, for this guy. Hey! All right, so here we are. So here there's going to be 4, looks like 1/2-inch nuts and bolts that are going to be what's holding on the drive shaft. Let's see if we can bust these loose at all. Oh, those are on there pretty good. Figures. That's righty tighty, lefty loosey, right? Let's see. So I need to go that way with them. That's gonna round the nut off. Well, that's a problem. Hey, welcome back. Took an unexpected break there. My family ended up coming home, and so I had to stop for the afternoon. So here we are, I don't know, 6 hours later or something like that. So we're gonna get cracking at it again. Got the rear taken care of, so now what I need to do is go ahead and loosen up the bolts for the drive shaft on the front. Then I'm gonna go ahead and, before I get too far, I need to actually put some marks on the drive shaft and the output shafts and the input shafts. So that way I kind of know reference-wise where the drive shaft sits, because that can help with balance and everything. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and then we'll get this puppy moved out. Exhaust out now. I've got the prop shaft out. So now that I've got some pretty decent access, so that way I can really try to get up inside of that heel board area. I want to go ahead and fix up and repair the tunnel cover. I'll be able to go ahead and weld it all in. And what I'm kind of hoping is to maybe be able to try to, I don't know, like outline some of this stuff, but I just don't think that's going to happen, because I don't have really any kind of access to get at it from underneath here because of the frame. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set the panel on there and just kind of see where things line up, and kind of just take it from there. And maybe we'll have to do some trimming tonight. See if we can figure out how to get this guy fit in there. Let's get it placed in. All right, welcome to the underside of the Spitfire. So this is the tunnel cover that I've gone ahead and I've slid back under. And this is the cross member section. And I'm sure you guys will recognize this from the other side. This is the parcel shelf. It's a little worse for wear, but we'll take care of that once the cars off the frame. So the alignment here actually isn't all that bad. I guess the big thing that's going to be the hardest challenge is trying to just get this as secure and tight up against the underside here as possible. I was hoping that there would be like a ridge or something that I could kind of use vice grips to kind of get it tightened up to, but there just isn't. So I guess what I'll end up doing is when it comes time to weld this, I'll drill out my holes here, and then I'll use those holes for my spot welds, and then I'm gonna have to probably, I don't know, maybe use a jack or something to try to really kind of press this tight up against here, because I want it to be as flush and as tight as possible. So that's kind of what we're looking at, but that's why I went ahead and I pulled that prop shaft out, because otherwise I would have had absolutely no access to any of this stuff. So it's kind of nice to see. All right, well, cool. So that actually works out pretty well. I think we'll be able to definitely make do with that. All right, let's get back up to the top where it's a little more comfortable. All right, so what I did is I kind of just felt around to try to figure out what these lines are going to be like for where the new panels come in. And so I got ahead and marked them up, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just try to cut this so that way I can kind of get it to match. And then I'll end up having to come through and do the back end as well. But I'm going to start with the front, kind of go from there. So let's go ahead and cut some of that metal off and see how it fits. All right, so here's what we got. I've gone ahead and I've taken this out and put it back in a few times. And I got these angles pretty much cut nicely here. And I'm gonna have to cut a little bit out of the, let's see if I can focus that. Cut a little bit of the floor out here. The driver's side actually lines up really well. But the passenger side over here, it's not. So, I mean, it lines up, but this ridge here seems to like stick out way too much, and I've ground some of it back and it just still hangs out a little too much. So I think what I may end up doing is I got a mark here, and I'll have to put a mark like right around here where this weld is. Let's do that right now. And I think that if I could just like hammer down this edge just a little bit to kind of give it a little bit of a curve, I should be able to go ahead and get this to sit nicely. So let's pull it out and take the hammer to it and see what we can do. All right, well, made some more progress. So the hammering definitely helped try to kind of build an edge. Right now, this is just actually sitting on the opposite side of the floor. It needs to be lifted up a little bit. Once it's lifted up, it should be pretty even. This sits relatively good. A little bit of a gap there that I really gonna have to just kind of fill with wire, I guess, but it is what it is. Let's go over to the driver's side. All right, so on the driver's side, I went ahead and I cut the floor. And so now this mostly matches up. I got a little more work to do, but I mean, there's a little burr that's kind of causing it to stick out, but it's not bad. Again, I'll have to fill that hole with some wire, I think. Coming along here, it's relatively good. And then I got this big section over here that, again, I'm gonna just end up filling with wire. No, I'm just kidding. I'll end up making a patch. So when I pull this guy out, though, you'll see like right over here, this whole section needs to be rebuilt. So I'll end up probably just cutting this whole like piece off and then making the whole section that kind of comes out and fills the curve. And then over here, I'll end up cutting that out and just putting on a new little strip. And then you got all the old welds from the previous floors. They've never really flattened them out. And again, you don't need to because it's going to be all covered with carpet, but I'll probably flatten them out. I already started to kind of do that on this side, and you really can't even tell it there anymore. So I'll probably do that on that side. May as well, make it look good. Underside still needs a little bit of work. On the underside, you can still see some of the joints from previous floors. Again, I want to kind of just grind that out and just clean it up. May as well make it look decent. Although frankly, I could probably get that while I have the car on its side when I get onto the rotisserie or whatever option I choose to go with. But the idea is I'm going to weld it in from the top, and then once it's at least secure, I'll probably have to come back through and weld it again through the bottom. But I can't do that with the frame and the tub together. So it's not really a big deal because I can get it from the other side once I get the tub off. All right, well, that's gonna do it for tonight. It's 9:45. I am just drenched, as you can see, and filthy. I'm actually greasy too for the first time on this car in a long time. I haven't really been greasy. It's been more just dirty from metal shavings and whatnot, but now I'm greasy, so it's a combination of the two gross things. So I'm gonna go jump in the shower. Tomorrow's Father's Day, so I really don't know what kind of time I'm gonna get out here. I mean, I may get some time tomorrow night, who knows. But I got my in-laws coming over. We're throwing some ribs on the smoker, so it's gonna be a good day. If I don't finish up this video tomorrow night, I'll be finishing it up Monday night, most likely. So we'll catch you soon. Okay, we are back, and it is actually Monday night. So we're picking up where I left off Saturday night. And so what I think my plan is to be here is to go ahead and kind of like make a template that follows this contour, but has a straight edge. And I'm going to go ahead and make the template to fit here, and then I'll make the actual patch piece. And then I will cut this to the patch piece, so that way I got a nice straight edge here, and it's kind of buttoned together, and we'll have that be that. So let's do that, and then we'll probably end up doing the same on the other side, and we'll see what that brings us for this video. So I found that I ended up making this just a little on the short side initially. So now what I'm going to do is trace this out. And make this last section just a little bit longer than my template because I knew that I had to come out just a little bit further. But I think that that's roughly going to be what it is. Of course, this is going to be flipped over, but I got a nice flat straight edge that I can work with here, and a relatively flat straight edge here that I can work with. So let's go ahead and get this cut out and see what that gives us. Alright, so I did a test fit on this guy, and it's not exactly perfect, but it's definitely very workable and manageable. So I got this guy in here, and as you can see, this will end up just getting filled with welds as I stitch this all up, so I ain't too worried about it. But I had to cut the tip off here because it was just getting way too thin, and I figured if it's that thin, I'm gonna just burn it up when I try to weld it. So I cut off a nice square, and I'll just cut into this and then just pull it out. So I've gone ahead and I've kind of wedged the template in there. You can kind of see what we're working with. It's gonna have about 1/4 inch stick out in the back, which is great because that takes care of the flange. It fills in those holes. So I think I should be at the point now where I can go ahead and cut this out and weld that new piece on. Let's get cracking. throw a couple of quick tacks on here to kind of just get a general idea of fitment. We'll test it and then we'll see how it is. All right, so fitment was good. Let's go ahead and weld her up. All right, so I welded in the piece and went to go test fit everything, and it's kind of kicking my butt at the moment. So, I mean, I got my holes are lined up, and I went to go and try to close this gap a little bit. So I put the trolley jack up underneath, put a little piece of wood on it, and I pushed it up, and when I did that, it revealed that it just does not fit the way that I wanted it to. And I think that on this side it seems okay. Maybe it's that side that needs the work. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna step back for the night because it is almost 10 o'clock and it is blazing hot. So let's wrap up this video. All right, well, I hate ending a video on this kind of note, but I think that's gonna be the situation here. I'm hot, I'm tired. This whole weekend has been long and hot, to say the least, when it comes to working out in the garage. The heat is just absolutely getting to me and it's making me a bit short-tempered. So I'm taking advice that Chris Fisher gave me, and he says if you're just not feeling it, walk away because it's just gonna make it worse. So thank you, Chris, for that advice. I am going to be wrapping it up for the night. Tomorrow's a whole different night. Maybe I'll get out here a little bit earlier and kind of get cracking at it a little bit more. But I mean, as you can see, it's so hot out here. So if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Click the bell to get those post notifications. And remember, when working on cars like this, don't let the heat get you. Stop when you're ahead and don't be the dreaded previous owner. Cheers.